Sometimes you can feel the universe is behaving as a magnet. It's trying to pull you towards it.
How did the NGO happen? It requires a lot.
I took a very risky decision of giving up my job in 2018, and I took the decision of taking up land. 1.2 acres of land on a 99 years of lease.
Why do you have to give back to society? Why can't you just earn for yourself and be happy?
Practice for the happiness of oneself and for the happiness of others. I always love this fact that thinking beyond yourself.
So there are a lot of convincing that you had to initially do for the local villages because they did not have a concept of a school.
These children were all beedi workers' children. They never went to school. They would not encourage the children to go to school. My child doesn't know how to eat also. My child doesn't know anything. What will my child be doing in the school? It's not a school. It's like a play place.
So all this convincing that you are doing, were you doing it all alone by yourself?
To be honest, it was a completely personal journey. When you are a leader, every member is important for you. The culture should be pure. The culture should be completely that everyone is working with their heart. 2020, when COVID struck, we started with our work. When all the schools are going online, why not us? Let's give it a try.
Are there any notable success story that you can recall?
We have children, who had started their journey of life with us only.
Okay.
Very, very underprivileged circumstances that the child comes from. And the child ranked first in International Olympiad.
How much fulfilled are you right now?
Well, I'm still yet 50% only done.
Hello ma'am, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
If you could just introduce yourself to our audience.
This is Satarupa Majumder, a teacher by profession. I began my journey as a teacher about 15-16 years back. I was just more keen to teach children.
Where were you teaching?
I was teaching in Welland Goldsmith.
Okay. So it's an English medium school?
English medium school.
Okay.
After getting my job, I was more interested in the pre-primary education and the foundation education, which is called the pre. So I again got myself trained in this, and that is how, as a teacher, I enjoyed my job and felt very happy seeing the children growing from step to step.
When did this thought occur to you, you had to do something for the underprivileged children and you wanted to open an NGO? Because it takes a lot of task to open an NGO. So when did that thought occur and why did it occur?
I was always very inclined to do something for the society.
But why? Where does this thought come from?
Because, I always believe in the purpose of life.
Okay.
And I was in a complete quest for a purpose of my life.
Okay, so while you were teaching, that was your purpose, right? So why did you require another purpose?
I felt that was something I was doing for myself.
Okay.
And what was I as a teacher was doing to give back to society? I always felt that as a teacher or a doctor, they have a lot to give back to society.
But why this thought? Why do you have to give back to society? Why can't you just, earn for yourself and be happy? Where does this thought come from, doing for the society?
So I'll tell you how this came. So I was introduced to Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism in the year 2006.
Okay, so where was this, in Calcutta?
Yes. Then my child was very young. And that was the time when I was just started my career also, and while I was doing my practice, I was always very inclined to spiritual practices.
So what was this practice? Is it Buddhism or some?
It is Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism is completely Shakyamuni Buddha's Buddhism, but as we know that Buddhism had gone from our country, it had traveled to the Oriental countries and mostly to Japan. So Nichiren Daishonin happens to be a Japanese monk in the 12th century who had read the sutras of Shakyamuni Buddha.
Okay.
And after reading, he realized that Lotus Sutra is the sutra which is for the human life, because it tells you that you have your karmas. We all have our karmas, but by doing good in life, how we can expiate our karmas and be happy, because we all want to be happy in life.
So were these practices only about reading the scriptures, or were there any meditations or any other practices
So
that
this
you had to go through?
practice has a very nice keywords: practice for the happiness of oneself and for the happiness of others. So when I was introduced, I always loved this fact that thinking beyond yourself.
Okay.
So probably it was something which was there in me, because I was born into a joint family where we have seen a lot of compassion and empathy. And there was a lot of family feelings among everyone to help each other. And that is what was something probably was there in my subconscious mind always. And so I was also married into a joint family, and I nurtured the similar thoughts in myself. And so when I was introduced to this practice, and this practice is a very unique way of doing it, that you meet your members, you sit and pray with them, and pray for a particular cause or a challenge the member is going through in their life, and you chant with the member to overcome that challenge. And you could really see that the member is overcoming that challenge. And probably it will take maybe 3 months, 6 months, but finally the member really does overcome a challenge. It can be a health challenge, it can be a monetary challenge, it can be a family challenge, but it really does happen.
What challenge were you going through back then?
So the challenge was, what is the purpose of my life?
Okay, that's interesting.
And am I just born to be someone's wife and someone's mother, and to, at one point of time you will feel that there is a cacophony in your life, and there are some noises which you don't want to be with, and you want to find out probably a more serenity, and somewhere you want to find out what is
the bigger purpose of life. Why am I here in this planet, basically? To do what?
So it was also, I would tell you that during the time when my daughter was about to born, and those few months before that, I used to read a lot of Swami Vivekananda. And every time I read the words, he said that leave your footmarks wherever you go. So this really made me think, what is the footmark I am leaving behind?
So basically, while you were teaching, you had this thought within you that whatever I'm doing right now is not sufficient enough. Somewhere, something inside was bugging you. Like, you have to do something bigger, or for a bigger cause, maybe.
Not only that, I felt that I was just doing for myself, and I was just doing everything very selfishly. Why not I being a little more, as a teacher, I need to be selfless,
right,
where I'm not. So, and then it always came to my mind that what am I leaving behind? I'm not leaving behind anything. So a day will come in my life when I will turn back the pages of my life, and what do I see? I've just cooked meals, and I've just taken care of the family, and it was all a rush. And then there will be no time for me to do something which I want to do. This was purely a thought, never realizing that it will be
manifested.
Absolutely. And but I would always pray, always chant whenever I did my prayers.
What?
So we have this one chant line, which says Namyo Ho Ringe Kyo.
What does this mean?
Nam means Namu. It comes from a Sanskrit word Namu, which means dedicating my life to the mystic law of cause and effect, which Gita also tells you. So, I was also very, in my college days and later part of my school days. So my mom would make it sure that we read a part of the Gita every day. It was there in our culture, And so Gita would always tell you that whatever is suffering is because of the cause that you have created. But when I read more about Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism and Lotus Sutra, particularly Lotus Sutra, I realized how beautifully said that, yes, it is true, but you can actually find happiness in this lifetime by chanting Namyo Ringe Kyo and by chanting for the happiness of others.
So you basically connected with this form of prayer or meditation or practice, whatever you went through. So how did the NGO happen? Like, it requires a lot, like a lot of members are required, a lot of financial support is required, and a lot of mental support is also required. So, if you could take us through that journey.
After my daughter was born, I was doing this practice very well. And it was like every evening, I would take a book, a scripture, and I would visit someone and sit and chant with the person. This was my regular habit.
So any person or some selected person from your
so
life?
we have group of members.
Okay.
The territory where you are staying, whichever area, in that area, probably you will have 15 to 20 members. You are supposed to take care of these members. Take care means only go and sit and chant with them and talk to them. Nothing else. And while doing this, you can feel that compassion and empathy and connectedness with the universe, with individuals, really enhances in one's life.
Enhances what?
The compassion, and understanding of life, that life is just not
the rush that we are going through every single day.
And not only that, it's just not about packages, money, and no, there is a bigger picture to it, which we don't see. And by the time probably we visualize that, it's too late in life. And so I continued with this practice, and I used to go with my daughter when she was about the age of 5 or 6 years.
This was around which year back in?
2007-8.
Okay.
I would take her to mother's house. I would take her to certain orphanages and spend a day over there with the children, sponsor a meal and things like that. That gave me a lot of happiness. And I also wanted my daughter to have that kind of environment where she can actually, feel that it's how privileged she is, and there's so much of love to give. I always believe there is a lot of love to give, and why not distribute it among people who don't get it so easily. And that is how it all started. And it was very mystic. I can't tell you how mystic it was in 2012. So an aunt of mine who happens to be from Canada, she comes every winter, and she would say that she would, randomly go to some village and donate and do some things like that. And she told me that this time I'm visiting Hashnabad, and would you like to come with me? And if you have a spare sewing machine at home, can you just donate that? So I had my grandmother's sewing machine, and I felt like my grandmother was always very fond of it. But, after her passing away, there was no use of it. And I realized that why not give it to someone who can really make use of it? So I said, yes, I'll come and I'll donate the sewing machine. And that is the beginning of my journey. Okay. Completely into an unknown place, unknown path, not knowing a single person over there in the islands of Hashnabad and Hingolganj.
Where is this exactly located?
This is about 12 kilometers from Taki. That was my first time I came to know that there is a place called Hashnabad, a block. And then I visited, and that time we had to cross the river, Dasha River, and go. I visited, and somehow the people came to know that I was a teacher by profession, and they said, Didi, why don't you come back and spend some time with our children and teach our children? It struck me, and I felt, yes, that's good. Why don't I do it? Not realizing that you have to go 80 kilometers, you have to travel by a local train. And I was a person who has never traveled by a local train. This was my first experience of going to Shialda, getting a ticket for myself and going there. But, sometimes you can feel the universe is behaving as a magnet. It's trying to pull you towards it.
Okay.
And that is how my journey began in 2012. So when I went after that, when I visited, so I visited to the same people. I told them that please take me to some of the houses in the villages. I would like to see what the children are studying, doing. And that is how it all happened. And that was 2012. At the end of 2012, a very small structure was made. And in 2013, the first preschool concept was started over there. Then these children were all BD workers' children. So these children, they never went to school. Even if they did, it was in the 4th grade or 3rd grade, because Anganwadis were not so much functional, and they would not encourage the children to go to school.
Okay.
So I first started visiting houses with these 1 or 2 local people I knew, and told them that why don't you send your children, let them come and just play in the school. And I introduced the playway method of teaching.
Okay. So just guide me through, like, how did you get the fundings to actually get that place, get the land, start, building whatever the structure that you had built initially. So where did you get the funds from?
I did not know what is an NGO.
Okay.
I did not know what is funding.
Okay.
I did not know anything, even not how to form a board or etc. It was the local peoples with whom I started this work. It was entirely the little income I had with myself. And I was very happy that I was being finally doing something I wanted to do.
Your selfless journey started there.
Yes. I was thoroughly enjoying teach children and children coming from a background like biri workers, coming from huts or muddy houses, and they were singing songs and saying rhymes in English. I was so happy to see this, and I would come back and I see my daughter she was also of the same age. And finally, I felt that yes, if you try, children are brilliant wherever you go, whether it is deep Sundarban or it is over here with us in Kolkata or Mumbai or Delhi, anywhere. They are brilliant. They are so capable. They are so amazing. It's just that they don't get the opportunities.
So were there a lot of convincing that you had to initially do for the local villagers, because they did not have a concept of a school, or where they would send their children, especially girl childs? So did you face any challenges in the beginning to convince them?
A lot.
Like, what are the challenges, if you could just take
So
through?
they would say that this is not the age for a child to go to school. We send our children at the age when they are 7, 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
Why so early 3 years? What will my child go 3 years? My child doesn't know how to eat also. My child doesn't know anything. What will my child be doing in the school? So I said, please, it's not a school. It's like a play place. So just send your child to play. This took me about 2 years.
Were there any differences between, sending girl child and a boy child to school?
A lot difference. Lot. Because they felt girls were only because they were about to get married at the age of 14, 15 or 16. Why to get them educated? If they know how to write their own name, that is more than enough. And the girls had a lot of restrictions. They were not allowed to go to school to attend, and they were not even allowed to. Even initially, when I started taking in girls and encourage girl children education, they were not allowed to participate in any kind of cultural activities, even to art, dance, drama. Nothing they were
this
allowed.
was happening in the year of
2013, 14.
2013, 14.
Yes.
Still, the differences between boy child and a girl child.
Huge. And these are the areas, Hashnabad, Hingolganj, which is just by the river Ichamoti, which is in between Bangladesh and India. So Bangladesh is completely visible from the side of Hashnabad and Hingolganj. It's so close. And so, then I realized the issues of child protection. I would find mothers who were married, and these men to whom they've got married or she has got married, they came over here this side, they got married, and suddenly they abandon the family then and go away. That was the time when I realized the life of woman was so much vulnerable, insecure. Mothers had nothing to do but just to sit and cry holding their children. And that is when I told them that why is it that you want to repeat history and you want your daughter to also be having a life like you? Please empower them. Get them educated so that they can do things of their choice and they don't have to have a life like you.
So all this convincing that you were doing, were you doing it all alone by yourself, or were there few people around you to support you back then?
To be honest, it was a completely personal journey.
Okay.
Although I had few members who were local in the board at that point of time, but they did not have that understanding, They felt that it was a school and it was just like a formal school. Children would come, study, go away. But there was, areas like Sundarban or these remote areas, even areas where tribal children are studying, a child cannot be a single purpose. It is a focus of the entire family that you have to uplift, the entire society that you have to uplift. When we talk about in such a broader sense, the work is just not educating a child. It's educating a family, educating a society, educating a complete village.
Empowering the entire place.
Absolutely.
So the approach that you took to teach these students, were they different from what you were doing back in the city?
So this is very also interesting about my life. I was a high school teacher and these children were very young. So they were all preschool. But I thoroughly enjoyed teaching them because I had the training and so I could train the teachers. So this was another very important journey of my life, was the local teachers. And then in 2015, I felt that it was previously Bengali medium, that to make it Anglo-Bengali. So I started training the teachers to be Anglo-Bengali in 2015.
What is Anglo-Bengali?
Anglo-Bengali means they will have English as a subject, and other subjects also they will slowly start studying in English. Because I completely believe that English is no more a language, it's a skill. Every child must have the skill so that they don't feel they are left out in the world. I've seen many good children, they were brilliant, they just could not stand up because they could not speak well in English. They could not face an interview, they would so be scared to face an interview, and that is where they have lost the fight of life. And then I felt that these children are so intelligent, so brilliant, so capable, why not teach them English? And children were so smart, they just they took up the language. But it was a real task to teach groom the teachers, nurture the teachers, because they were local teachers. They do not have the access to speaking in English or hearing conversations in English. And so this journey again started in 2016. Also in 2016, we started working a lot on child protection and child rights. And so we became a part of the West Bengal Child Rights and Child's Commission.
What kind of rights were you working on?
So all the rights that the children have, right to education, right to good food, right to living, proper living, all the rights that we have, the 9 rights for a child that we have. So we would go around in the villages. So there is something called the safety net for the children, and also there is something called the block level child protection committee.
Okay.
So we became a part of the block level child protection committee, and we would have a group of people, trainees, who would go from the village to village talking about these rights of the children, and particularly because we would see a lot of child marriage and early marriage. So that was a very important point that we need to address too.
Did you see any change after you entered the scene and you took over? Were the children having a better life?
So the mothers became very, very careful and conscious, and they started coming up with their stories. They felt that this was a lady we could trust and vent out all that we have within us.
Okay.
This was a big opportunity for them to come out with all that they have in their mind, the dark thoughts of their mind.
So is there a particular story that actually, struck you and, moved you from within? That you would like to share?
Actually, yeah. So this particular mother, who had married a man who had come all the way from Bangladesh, and then after 5 years of marriage, he suddenly went missing, and she could never find him out because he was not an Indian at all.
Okay.
And that she was not aware of at all. And then she had 2 children to take care of. So then, these are the mothers who became, and how we actually counseled her and made her confident that yes, you are capable of bringing up your child. And then slowly these mothers, we started training them and giving them a livelihood. Or
training them in?
We used to train them, in tailoring, or get them connected to the nearest government tailoring centers or trainers, and so that they could train themselves and do some work to make an earning livelihood. Because they had no money to survive, and they had to go back to their parents' house, which they were also not very willing to keep them for a long time. So these are the scenes that we have seen.
And what were the other things that you were doing to, actually make your school stand out? Like, it is not a normal school where, their mother and father are educated and the children come in and they just go through the normal education system. So you were forming an education system that is completely your own because you saw the circumstances, it was not normal. And then you were taking steps. So what are those steps? Like what, singing, like you said, the children would come and sing, they would come and play, so that they get used to that environment, so that they start liking that environment. Even in Finland, like there are no exams till people are 16 years old, so that they fall in love with the education system, and that is how they bring out the best in all the children. They are the best in the education system in the entire world. So I could somehow relate to that. You were trying to make them used to this environment, start liking this environment, so that the parents would also see that, the children are having fun rather than just taking it like, test, exam. So are there any other things that you were doing?
Yeah, so this was completely a playway method of teaching. They were given homework, of course, because that is something that the parents would think otherwise probably nothing is being taught in the school. But in class, it was mostly playway. So we had lot of equipments, we had lot of...
What kind of equipment?
So these are, play for mathematics, like teaching mathematics,
Okay.
teaching English. There were a lot of materials.
Toys.
Not only toys. So teachers had these TLMs, teacher learning materials, through which they would teach the children. It can be a chart paper, it can be a various other things, small things which were given to children. The children would use them. It's like, like sorting, like for teaching numbers to the children. You give them the sorting trays, and the sorting trays, they have the beads in them. So you have a separate verticals where you are asked the children to put their according to the numbers. So if there is number 1, so you ask the child to put 1 sorter. If they're number 5, the child will put 5 sorters. From this, the child is learning how to count.
So basically, being physically engaged with learning,
Absolutely.
basically. It's not just reading a book and learning.
Rote learning is something which I don't believe in. And I believe that only when a child is learning by doing, is when the child will enjoy.
Were there any other things that you were executing?
Yes, many other things. So there were regular games, regular sports, variety of activities we would have, So this was like we would have a musical activities. It was art. Art was introduced. So they would have art classes. They would have singing classes, dance classes. Every month there was some of the other, important days that we used to observe. So children were trained in that. So it was bringing in nurturing the culture of, education along with art, along with culture. All this was integrated together so that children grow up to be human beings who will understand what they are doing. I mean, they will have the understanding of life.
So when did this organizational structure of an NGO come into the picture? Like, the journey was going on, and when did this occur?
It occurred 2012 itself. So what happened, I was in a job myself, and people were like, being in a job, you're going there, doing something, you need to have a structure. It is called an NGO. So I said, like, I need to know and look up what is an NGO is all about. And that is when I got registered, because I felt without a register doing this kind of a work, people might not take it seriously, or maybe that's not the right approach.
And it also hinders the process of growth. Like after a point of time, you need funding, right?
I did not think at that point of time that I would ever give up my job or go for funding or from a teacher, I become a completely fundraiser. I could not imagine itself, because initially, even in my house, my husband thought, okay, fine, she's going every Saturday to Sundarbans. She's having a nice time, just fine, it's okay. Then when he realized that I would wake up so early, sending mails out to people, and I would wake up very early before and send mails, do a bit of research, and then I would get myself ready for the school. So that was the time my husband realized that probably, she was meaning serious. Before
So
that,
initially you were just going on the weekends and teaching, Saturday, Sunday, when you had the job.
Only Saturdays, initially, till 2015-16.
Okay.
After that, I started going on every Friday evening.
Okay.
After school, I would come home, and by evening 5:30, I would leave. And so that Friday evening, I would stay there. And then Saturday, after the whole day's work, I would come back. And holidays for my winter vacation and summer vacation, I would go and stay there for 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and then again come back. So there were one or two local people with whom I developed, good relation, and they realized the purpose of why I was working. And those are the places I would go and stay. They would happily open up their houses for me to go and stay. So slowly I started getting a lot of support from the locality also.
And coming back to NGO formation.
Then, NGO was formed and all legalities. And I was very particular that legalities should be there, and it should not become a hindrance in my way forward, that I feel, I don't have the legal compliances and things in place, and so I will not be able to move ahead. So I was very particular about all my ATG and 12A and all the certifications that are required to run an NGO. and also have your audits done every year, and all these.
So how could you take us to the process of how does funding work for an NGO? How do you get funding, and how do you start this entire process?
So, I would initially go and talk to people and tell them the story, tell them the work that we were doing, and ask them, things like asking for books for the children, exercise books for the children, or asking for a school bag, stuff like that. And slowly, I realized I took a lot of trainings, and I would attend all the conferences and webinars to understand what is called proposal writing. Because I did not know what is proposal writing, and I did not have any idea how to go
So what webinars were these?
These were usually, they were from LinkedIn, I would find out, or from, friends, common friends who would tell me that, why don't you attend this? Why don't you attend that?
So these were teachings to make you capable enough to raise funds.
So in 2020, when actually Amphan and Covid took place, it was only the social media. So my Facebook account, which was my personal account, and I was the social media person at that point of time, doing all the social media, maintaining all the 4 handles myself. So a lot of, pictures and stories and, videos I would post every day. Telling them the situation of Hingalganj and how Swapnopuron and the team was working hard day and night to bring about, to give comfort to the people during that time. That generated a lot of momentum, and we got a lot of individual donor support during that year. And Swapnopuron grew from a very small organization to a huge organization. And actually in that year, we raised over 50 lakhs of in-kind donations. Which in-kind in the sense it included, food, it included tarpaulins, ration kits, it included even medicines, everything. And so, slowly we got into, people noticed us. So the branding started working during that time. And slowly organization grew, and it is very important that, you keep a very good relationship with your donors. You make them realize that the work that you are doing is genuine, because you keep on reporting to them and inviting them to the spot where you are working, asking them to come and spend a day with the children, and also give them reports regularly, pictures, sharing pictures that the whatever the amount of support they are giving you, that it is being utilized for the welfare of the children and the community and the people who are working with us. This relationship building is very important to gain the confidence and the transparency. That's very important.
So is this the only way to keep it transparent, or do you do other things to keep it more transparent?
So we invite donors to our place. We tell them, come and spend a day with the children, number one. Number two, we keep sending them reports. We keep sending them, we have newsletters where we tell them what are all that is going on in Swapnopuron. And they have also seen the growth of Swapnopuron. It is from the ground floor of the school building to the first floor, and the huge work that is going on actually. So in that way, they have visualized. They have seen the way Swapnopuron has grown step by step, which give them the confidence that yes, this organization means something which is serious.
And things are happening around.
Absolutely.
So you were saying that, you started with a very small structure initially. And after that, how did it grow? And, what were the numbers that were initially there? And what are the numbers now? How many schools are you operating now? If you could just take us through that journey.
So 2016, 2017 went on like this. And that time we had about 120, 125 children who were attending us. But only it was up to the 4th standard.
Okay.
5th standard onwards, children would go to the high school. So
high school was there?
Yeah, government's high school.
Okay.
Government high school.
Okay.
But we were, by that time, we had already started dealing a lot in English to the children. In 2016-17, parents started telling me, ma'am, why not a high school? Why not a high school? In 15, we had few people who had joined us, working with us. And I got a little courage. I felt that I was not alone doing everything. Now I have a little few people who are with me. I took a very bold and a very risky decision of giving up my job in 2018. And I felt that if I have to make this work and really manifest the dream that I have and to reach where I want to, I have to give my full 100% to this. To do that, I need to give up my job. So in 2018, I gave up my job and I took the decision of taking up land. So I took up 1.2
So
acres.
that was your funding?
Yes, 1.2 acres of land on a 99 years of lease.
Okay.
This happened in 2019. January, I started in this new place which we took up, 1.2 acres of land. And with 160 students and 10 teachers.
So this was area surrounding Sundarbans.
Yeah, Hingolganj. It is under block Hingolganj. And in 2020, I first time felt that when we are going completely English, we introduced all books in English in 2019. I realized that the challenge was the local teachers teaching in English was a challenge. Although the books were in English, they were, again, many times it was in Bengali only which is being taught. I felt that I need to have teachers from the city. So in 2020, I gave out circulated advertisements in all the leading papers for teachers in Sundarbans. And I did get response. I did get. That was the first year we went big. We started having teachers who are from Kolkata, other parts. They would go there. We took up a teachers' quarter where they were staying. Teachers' quarter. In these teachers' quarter, the teachers from outside would come and stay. And we started with 5 teachers who were from not from the local point.
So just trying to understand the timeline. So by this time, when the teachers were coming in from the city to Sundarbans, were the senior school already set?
So the land was there, and it was just a hay structure. Okay. And so the teachers, at that time we had only up to the 5th grade.
Okay. In the high school. That you had planned to make it a high school.
Yes.
In that
only up to the 5th
land.
standard. 2020 was the year when COVID struck.
Okay.
So by end of 2019, we got a donor who was willing to construct the ground floor of the school building. And 2020, when COVID struck, just before the COVID, we started with our work, the construction work. The day all the schools had shut down. So what it came to my mind is that when all the schools are going online, why not us? Let's give it a try.
Okay.
And we did a survey to find out how many parents they have the Android phone. We found that almost 60% of the fathers, they have one Android. So we said that when the fathers are going to be at home, so let us try this out. And this was the time when we had a big turnaround, From 160 students, we went up to about 300 students in that particular year.
Okay. The year COVID hit?
Yes.
But offline, are you talking about
online?
Online.
Online. So we continued education online. And 40% of the children who did not have any access to devices, the teachers would go to distribute ration kit, and they would also distribute worksheet kits.
Oh.
This was the first time we introduced worksheet kits in Sundarbans.
This is huge. This is brilliant. So by this time, was there only one school and the infrastructure that you were trying to build, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So even that year, Amphan had hit.
Okay, so how do you deal with so many, natural calamities? Because that zone is well known for all the storms and tornadoes and flood and everything. So how do you deal with that?
So I'll tell you again, I come back to the same thing. When the universe wants you to do something, it conspires to make it happen, So we just had 12 teachers at that time with a total of 14 to 15 staff we had at that point of time. And you won't believe, overnight, they all turned into social workers. And they would travel to villages to give, during Amphan particularly, it had hit on the 20th of May 2020. And I still remember that all our teachers, they were on the ground from the very next day, distributing ration kits, distributing water, because there was a huge water crisis, if you can recall. And that was the time when we were also given by one of the generous donors of Kolkata the opportunity to serve cooked meals. So
Okay.
for about 1.5 months, we served cooked meals, and we served 76,100 cooked meals.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I just have one question: is before this, were you serving food to the children, like when they, because it was
We had no experience of working in this structure, in this huge expanse. We had no experience. None of our teachers were experienced. Neither I myself was experienced.
So all these teachers who came along, were they paid properly? Like
Yes. So,
So who-
at that time,
okay.
our salary structure was very general, because I did not know what is fundraising.
So where was this fund coming from?
So by 2018, slowly I started getting introduced to some of the people and started pitching. So 2020,
People as in
individual donors and CSRs
individual
also.
donors. Okay.
And in 2019, actually, one of our board member who was then our part of our board, she introduced me to one or two donors of Mumbai.
Okay.
And they were the ones who started supporting us first.
Okay.
And 2020, during COVID times, to be really, really, it's a blessing for us, that we could pay all the teachers, all the staff on time. And throughout the year, we did not have to do any pay cut. We did not have to do anything. Rather, we paid extra amount, extra bonus to them because of the work that they had done during Amphan and COVID.
That they did not had to do, but they did it out of
Yes.
sheer selflessness.
Yes,
the energy that
absolutely.
you were letting out into them.
And there were times that we were asked by the local administration. Only we were allowed, along with Ramakrishna Mission, to do the relief work, the cooking. Otherwise, if you can recall that that time they were told that no organizations can serve any cooked food. But the local administration actually told us to do that. We were given the permission to do it, and we did. And after that, we made it a huge success. So there were days that for lunch, we cooked 2,500 meals. It was being cooked from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10:30. And after 10:30, the food were put on the boats, and the boats would go on to the islands to serve this food. By 12:30, people would make a long queue in the islands waiting for the food to arrive. Such scenes I have seen in Sundarbans, which was completely unknown to me since I am not a person from there. And I have not seen or read anywhere also. So Covid and Amphan gave me a huge learning to all of us. That how can you survive in areas like Sundarbans, which is torn apart by storm, by cyclones, every other time.
So when did the school again started reconstructing?
So again, but we continued. We continued that year. And that was the time in November 2020 when the local administration approached us and told us, when you are doing so much of good work for education in one island, why don't you spread in other islands?
Wow.
I mean, there were islands where all the books of the children were taken away, washed away because of the flood. And we started small learning centers over there. So that was the year 2020 and 2021. By 2022 March, we had 4 other branches.
4 other schools?
Yes.
4 other schools in 4 different islands?
Yes.
And you were heading all of them?
Yes.
And that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So how did you manage to do so much, like, from just one small infrastructure to having 5 schools? Like, how did you manage?
I don't know how did
and
I.
all of them are constructed right now.
Yes, of course.
And in total, how many students are studying right now?
Right now, we have 890 plus students.
890 plus students in all the 4 schools.
Yes, 5 schools.
5 schools, yeah.
Other than the main school, we have 4 other branches. So in totality, we have 5 schools.
So what are your future plans? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, of course. We have future plans that these schools, they need a little more infrastructure support. We need to complete our main school, go in for our affiliation, also go in residential so that children from other parts of Sundarbans can come, stay and continue their education, and providing all vocational training to children so that, every child, when they are passing out of the school, they have certain skills or they can recognize the potentiality that they have in them and they can nurture that potentiality and can make a livelihood out of it.
Now, when the organization has grown, there must be few things that needs to be taken care of to function properly. What are the measures that you take on a regular basis to maintain this smooth flow of structure happening?
The operations. So there are 1, 2, 3 things over there when you run an organization. I don't come from a background where I've ever run an organization. I would still, if you ask me if you are an administrator I would say I'm a teacher. I love to be a teacher, and that's my core heart. But yes, of course, you have to lead. One thing I believe that when you are in the pivotal role of an organization, you are a leader. A leader has to lead by example. A leader has to be very compassionate. Leader has to be understanding. Leader has to be an example. At the same time, the leader needs to be very strong also. That is strong in the sense, has to be very firm in certain decisions. And you have to be present at every situation, making your team believe that, yes, I'm there with you always. That confidence is very important. And when you are a leader, every member is important for you. These are little things that I've always taken care of. And of course, the operations is important. The finance is important. How you are building the brand is important. How you are nurturing the culture in the organization is also very important. The culture should be pure. The culture should be completely that everyone is working with their heart, and there is a complete, synchronization in all that the work is being done. Culture building is important. And of course, fundraising is the bottom of line for everything. But these are also very important, because just fundraising will not ensure smooth flow, not ensure growth in the truest sense, will not ensure the scalability of the organization or the movement of the organization upward and forward.
So now, when things have happened and things are going ahead, how have the local people perceived this entire journey? Or right now, what is their point of view regarding this organization?
So I'll share this little story with you, So during Amphan, so we were doing relief work when in a particular island. This was 200 residents who were staying by the river, Dashara River in Bayanara village under Bishpur Panchayat. And this residents, we served them for 21 days with lunch. And we distributed many tarpaulins. So then few of them came ahead and told me that, ma'am, there is a small temple, a Durga Mondo, which is the Durga Mondo of the village, and 4 villages, they celebrate Durga Puja in this Durga Mondo. But the Durga Mondo has been affected by the Amphan. Can you do something about it? So I came back to the team and I approached a donor, and the donor agreed to repair, and completely we made the Durga Mondo again. And the happiness you should see, today also I visit that village during Durga Puja one day, and elderly ladies and all, they run up to me saying, Ma, it's so nice to see that you have come to meet us. What more you could ask in your life? So
they embrace you as Ma.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
What more you could ask in your life, because when you get so much of love and respect from people who are not your relatives or not your family, I feel that's my treasure of my life. And that is what gives me all the happiness. So I truly believe in the words that, when you really pray for the happiness of oneself and others, it works.
Are there any notable success story that you can recall out of, all the work that you have been doing with the kids and with the women out there?
Yes.
So could you just share one?
We have children, who had started their journey of life with us only.
Okay.
And so now he is in the 8th grade studying. And he is a son of a beedi worker. Mother is a beedi worker. Father is a patient of TB and for long years. And so the mother is the breadwinner of the family. And very, very underprivileged circumstances that a child comes from, where the child would not be able to continue education if Swapnopuron was not there to support. And the child is stood, ranked first in International Olympiad in academic year 23-24. We have mothers, who are very coming. They don't know. They are completely uneducated, and has lost her husband, who works as a utility staff in a school, but the child is studying in our school, and the mother earns fair enough to run the family. Then we have a mother who's abandoned by the father, by their family, and she has two children. Both of them are girls. They are brilliant, and they are being coached to perform in the international Olympiad, which works globally. The children are so brilliant. And we have children who crosses the river, and they are coming to school every day.
So, what are your future goals with this NGO? Like, leaving aside the school, I know that requires a lot of infrastructure help, and that is happening slowly and gradually. So, do you have plans to open more schools, or are there any other plans with the NGO as well?
So opening school is not what we plan right now, of course, but
Okay.
of course, consolidating the work that we are doing, coming up with our residential facilities, giving more opportunities to more children, and also vocational training is something that we emphasize on, so that children can, they have certain skills in them, and also encouraging mothers, women from the neighborhood to participate and to get trained. We provide them various trainings on tailoring and embroidery and jewelry making and other stuff which they can, and so that they all have a livelihood. They feel encouraged, they feel confident of life. That's very important, that the mothers feel confident. To make this vocational training unit for mothers a bigger size, so that they all make a livelihood and a decent earning from Swapnopuron, and can have confidence, lead a confident life. So these are some of the, of course, the goals that we have to achieve, and also to have more and more local educated young boys and girls getting trained as teachers, because we would require more and more teachers going ahead, creating a pool of teachers who would work as ambassadors of good education and holistic education in other parts of the Sundarban also. Human resource is very important in Sundarban. We need to create that human resource.
So, from that uneasy thought of what is my purpose in life to actually opening 5 schools and serving the children, serving the society as a whole out there, do you feel fulfilled? Like, have you achieved what you I know achievements can never be achieved. Like, our goals keep getting higher and higher as we achieve them. So, how much fulfilled are you right now? Like, what is your feeling right now?
Well, I'm still yet 50% only done.
Okay.
I have 50% more to do, rather, because we need to get the affiliation of the school and provide more infrastructure for the children. So, yeah, of course, a lot of goals are there which I need to achieve in the next 10 years. Yes, so far the journey has been very challenging, but very motivating. My motivation are the children, and a personal journey of a single individual
Right.
to a journey to where you have today 100 people who are working with you.
And I hope 1,000 people work with you, because your goal is a noble one, and you have chosen an area which is actually very problematic. Like, people are so underprivileged, and, through the journey that you just took us through, what I believe is, if a single person believe and, they have that manifestation within them, then I think things get manifested, and things start happening.
So it is a determination. It's a lot of determination, dedication, and a feeling. A thought for an individual to work consistently without stopping, may what the circumstances, till the time you achieve your goal.
Didn't you feel like demotivated sometimes, or where does this motivation come from? Like, it's not money, right? Like, you're not looking for money. Of course, there's this bigger goal that you want to leave a change in the society, that is there. But apart from that, we all are human beings. Sometimes we, feel low and we don't feel like working. What has kept you going?
The children. the people who work with us. We have so many utility staff, they just depend on the little amount that they get from us. And they are so dedicated, When they are sick, our utility staff, she is about 56, 60 years old probably. She had fallen ill in the school itself. She was taken to the doctor and she was like, I am very well. I don't want to get myself admitted in the hospital, because she was scared that probably she will lose her job. So I told her, told my people over there, please tell her that she can take as much time she wants to recover. The job is secured for her. So this little job means so much to them. I feel that they are my responsibility given to me by the universe. How can I turn away from there?
So that responsibility actually gives you all the determination and motivation that is required. So what is one thing that you would want our audience to take away from this entire journey of yours?
We all must think in some way to give back to society. Compassion, empathy, love, very important in today's world. Somewhere it's getting diluted. And keep moving. We all need to understand the purpose of our life. There are times which will make you break you, but you need to just get up from there and go. Move on.
It's been brilliant. This conversation has actually
There has
motivated.
to be this never to give up attitude in one person. And then the rest, the universe will take care of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It has been brilliant to actually know you and know your journey. And I hope you achieve a lot more in these areas for the people who actually need the help.
Thank you so much for having me here and listening to the story and taking it out to, reaching my story to the other people. That's obviously a great opportunity. I am grateful to you rather for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much.